Welcome to the Main Street Business Inside Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, Chief Program Officer at Main Street America, a nonprofit leading a collaborative movement dedicated to strengthening communities through place-based economic development and community preservation. Each week, join me as I travel the country and take a deep dive into the personal journeys of downtown and neighborhood entrepreneurs. The stories that far too often go unnoticed and unheard. Whether you're a small business owner who wants to learn from your peers or a community leader looking to better support your local business base, Main Street Business Insights is here to provide you with the tools, strategies, and personal stories to help you and all of your Main Street businesses thrive. So subscribe now and tune in every Wednesday to get inspired by the individuals driving our communities forward. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Main Street Business Inside Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, Chief Innovation Officer at Main Street America. And this week's episode finds me in Boyertown, Pennsylvania, visiting with Rachael Kehler, founder of the Peppermint Stick Candy Store and Ice Cream Parlor. So let me walk back a few months from the airing of this show. In May of this year, I received a lovely email from Rachael. It really struck the heart. I'll tell you why. She stated she was the biggest fan of the show, and she owned a candy store celebrating its 10th anniversary. Well, you can probably imagine, for those who know me, in the first paragraph, I was totally hooked on doing this show. I mean, one, praising the show, bingo, of course. And then I'm going to go to a store with candy and ice cream. Like, where do I sign up, folks? I mean, this is a great job, right? Well, like me, you will not be disappointed. Rachael is an incredibly savvy marketing guru, I'll call her, on the small business side, having centered candy through the decades. That's taken me on a trip down memory lane. Like, who doesn't remember loving Swedish fish? I mean, 1 penny? Give me a break. I mean, that was great. Now, inflation, of course. So we'll talk to her about strategy to engage AI more in her business, and really a thoughtful about some of the challenges of expanding her market through e-commerce. So join me on the journey here. Let's dive in and enjoy the show. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Main Street Business Inside Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, Chief Innovation Officer at Main Street America. And this week's episode finds me in Boyertown, Pennsylvania, visiting with Rachael Kehler, founder of the Peppermint Stick Candy Store and Ice Cream Parlor. Now, in May of this year, I received a lovely, wonderful email from Rachael stating she was a big fan of the show and she owned a candy store celebrating its 10th anniversary. Well, you can imagine in the first paragraph, I was already hooked on doing this show. I mean, praising the show as a big fan, bingo. And then I'm going to get to go to a candy store and ice cream parlor. Like, where do I sign up, folks? So, like me, you will not be disappointed in the show. Rachael is an incredibly savvy marketer, having centered candy through the decades, thus taking consumers like myself down sort of memory lane, I guess. You all remember Swedish fish, right? We're going to talk that, but also key strategic moves around things like AI and how do you utilize that within your business. And really a thoughtful approach to some of the challenges of expanding her market through e-commerce. And what I appreciate so much about recording these shows in person is not only do I get to interview amazing entrepreneurs like Rachael in their place of business, but I get to see the communities in which they exist, even if briefly, and kind of soak in the unique attributes and even the cool quirks, like in Boyertown, the bear art throughout downtown. So shout out to our network friends like Building a Better Boyertown and Pennsylvania Downtown Center that help make this work possible. So let's go ahead and dive in and enjoy the show with Rachael Kehler. How is your Main Street planning to celebrate America's 200th? Beacon Design partners with communities like yours to create custom, American-made keepsakes that raise funds and celebrate local pride. These keepsakes turn historic moments into lasting memories, and they're perfect for any community event. Beacon Design will help you create a memorable keepsake that's crafted in the USA and trusted by communities nationwide. So visit beacondesign.com to learn more. Don't just mark the moment, make it memorable. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Main Street Business Inside podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wagner, and today you can see I'm in Boyertown, Pennsylvania, in the Peppermint Stick with my number one fan, Rachael. All right, I don't have a lot of fans, so this didn't take much for. But Rachael reached out to me, God, what was that, maybe a month or two ago?
Yeah.
And said, I listened to the podcast, so automatically, flattery works. She had my attention. And then I learned more about her business. I'm like, oh my God, I got to come up to PA and be here in this amazing candy store, ice cream parlor, a throwback to the 1940s. There's so much to digest with the business, and just so excited that I'm here and you're on the show.
Hey, I'm excited. I feel like I'm in the midst of a celebrity.
You see how this is working, everyone? She's layering it on. Well, she already knows, as many of you probably do. I like to start with the story, the journey. I think it's really important. Small business owners, Main Streets, come from all different backgrounds and experiences and bring different passions to their work and their small business. And so let's start off there. Tell us, how did this all come about?
So everyone in my family is an entrepreneur. So my dad owns his own insurance company. When I was younger, my mom had a aerobics studio. So I grew up going to my mom's business with her and watching her run her own business. My uncle has a tinting business. My grandfather sold check writers. So it's just kind of in my genetics to be an entrepreneur. I have two kids. My daughter, she's 22 now, and my son is 19. And when they were younger, I worked different jobs, and it was kind of part-time here and there. So I could, be a mom, spend time with the kids. My husband supported us during those times. And as the kids got a little bit older, I thought, I need to start thinking about contributing more to the family. Do I want to go back to work full time, or maybe I would want to try and open my own business? And I thought this is the time to do it because we're not relying on my income. So if I don't make any money the first couple years, it's not going to hurt our family. So I was just throwing the idea around, and I thought, do I want to go back to work or start the business? And I thought, if I can come up with something good, I'm going to start my own business.
Yeah,
so,
I'm going to do this.
Yeah. So I was in Boyertown one day. This is, we live in the area. Both of my kids go to the Boyertown school. They both graduated.
Go Bears.
Yes. Yeah. And we had a tourist train that just started in our town, the Cobrookdale Railroad. And I was in town one day, and the train came back to the station. This was the first year they were running. And I saw people get off the train, and they walked out to the sidewalk, and they were looking up and down the street, looking for things to do after they rode the train. And I thought, if this takes off, we're going to get a lot of tourists in Boyertown. I thought, well, it would be something that would appeal to the tourists and the locals. And I thought every small, town or every tourist town has a candy store.
Yeah.
And with having two younger kids, my daughter was in middle school, my son was in elementary school at the time. I thought the kids could help me so that I can still be with the kids. So this could really be a family business. So I didn't really have any idea what I was doing when it came to candy or anything. So I just I winged it. I started going to candy expos, just researching. Of course, lots of taste testing was involved.
Yes.
And we opened our first shop up in March of 2015. It was just a little 450 square foot shop because, I didn't know how is this going to go? Is this going to take off? Is it going to be a dud? So I started off small. I sold my car. I drove around this clunker for a couple years. I used my tax return. The other thing that really helped me is my husband has his own business. He does historic restoration, and he built all the displays for me.
And folks, just real quick, what's the name of your husband's business?
Pennsylvania Craftsman Construction.
Amazing. So if you need some of that work in the PA area, I can't believe if you walk through this store, how cool the fixtures are. I think that's another business sideline. It's just doing fixtures. Just amazing.
Yeah, he actually has done a lot of counters. He's doing one right now. There's a cafe. They're changing. It's a pastry shop, but they decided they're going to become a wellness center. Oh. So he built all their reception desks and stuff. So he does do that a lot on the side for people.
Awesome.
So But we thought to ourselves, how do we want this business to be? And like I said, my husband is historic restoration. We're both really into history. So we wanted it to be like a vintage candy store. So again, stepping back, we toured a lot of different candy store, general stores, chocolate shops. We wanted to see what was in the area. And I think there's one other vintage candy store in the area, and it's over an hour away from here.
Okay.
So we thought we definitely have the market. So again, we opened up that small shop in March of 2015. Pretty much it's been a whirlwind since then. I mean, it's been 10 years now.
Wow.
Really loved it. A year and a half after we opened in the smaller location, we moved up here to Main Street.
Okay.
And about 1,000 square foot candy store. And we did bring ice cream into the shop at that time. Now, I'm really excited. In September, we had the opportunity to expand again, and that is when we expanded into the ice cream parlor here. We had a dentist that was our neighbor, so everyone always got a kick out of that. The candy store next to the dentist.
Perfect combination.
Yeah, we always got a lot of jokes about that. So I always tell everyone he was doing so many fillings, he needed to expand the business. So he moved to a different location.
He should have been paying you.
That's what I say. It was all one-sided relationship.
Yeah, right.
So. But we did have the opportunity to expand into his space, and this has really taken the business to like the next level. I mean, ice cream is just something that really draws people out. Some people like candy, some people don't. I mean, the ones that don't, I don't know if you can trust them, but
yeah.
But everybody likes ice cream. So, and it really gives people the opportunity to come out as their family and spend time together with their family without spending $100.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. What I found fascinating when we first started talking and I went to your website was it was sort of this walk through memory lane. And I guess I never thought about like candy having sort of a generational connection in the way that you've sort of centered this, especially when you have candies by the decade. Could you talk about how that came up?
Sure.
Like, how did you think through that process?
So like you said, my husband and I always have been into history. Like he restores old buildings, like mills, covered bridges, that sort of stuff. So we've always loved history. But two things. One, I think, is everybody has a story about candy when they were a kid. We hear people's story all the time. And I think that's the fun part of having a candy store. Is I always say no one comes in and says, I remember when I was little and I ate broccoli at my grandma's. It's always candy. So there's just something about candy that, connects with people. Also, my husband and I are part of the Historical Society in Boyertown. Right now I'm serving as the president. I have been for the past 4 years.
Oh, wow.
That's great. Yeah, like you said, we both are really into history. So I think doing projects for the Historical Society shows me like everything is a story, so it might be a candy, like for example, mallow cups. It might just be a chocolate cup with marshmallow in the middle. But that family started making that candy during World War II because they were trying to come up with additional revenue to support themselves. And now they're a huge company. So everything has a story to it.
Right. Not only from the product side, but then from the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing I said to Rachel when I walked into the store, I'm like, do you have like Swedish fish?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was my growing up, along with the candy cigarettes, I'll admit it. And it was going to our little general store in my grandmother's town of 1,000 people, and whatever like quarter I could find around, going down and buying sort of penny candy and Swedish fish.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that is important to me too, is people get to continue making those connections and making those memories. Because now I feel like everything's like so big now. Like you go to Walmart and there's the candy aisle. Like you're not going in and you're not picking out and making those decisions as a child. Like, do I want 5 fireballs or do I want, like 1 ring pop? Like those are the things people remember, is making those decisions, coming in with your family.
You're right. You had a quarter, so you had to think, okay, like how much of this am I going to get? How many of these could I get? And I can remember like, no, I don't have enough.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It helps learn how to make a decision.
You're right.
And I think these things are important for kids.
Yeah, you're right. Even the money part.
Yeah, and adults too.
Yeah, exactly. I still have more learning. I'm going to do that after the show. Let's talk a little bit about the community connection as well. As you mentioned, you're president of the Historic Preservation group here, but you also have this cow mural. And I'll put a picture on the show notes so people can see that. But it's a unique visual marker. I always think of those as great like Instagram moments on the side of the building. Can you share the story around that, and what's the relationship between the store and the broader Boyertown?
So when we expanded to have the ice cream parlor, I wanted to make sure there was a lot going on for our grand opening weekend. And I also really like to give back to the community here in Boyertown. So there's a group, it's called World Cow. They're on TikTok. And so his mission is, if you look at the cow, all the spots on the cow are the continents of the globe. Yeah, so it's saying we're all spots on the same cow. And with being an ice cream parlor, I thought, this is perfect. And just like you, I followed him. And I thought, well, this will be fun. Cows and ice cream go together. Totally. So he's from Vermont, and he actually paints murals all over the world. So I reached out to him, and I scheduled for him to come down and paint the mural here. But I also used it as an opportunity to fundraise for our local United Way. Oh, so wow. I got sponsors for the mural. People could also, I had 3 big sponsors, and then people could also sponsor a flower. So if you look very closely, you can see people's names on the sunflowers on the bottom of the mural. And then I have their information on our website as well. So, they get their name on there. I had a couple of people sponsor it in their grandchildren's name, or their business name. So it was a great way to bring the community together and raise some money for our local United.
Fantastic. I think that's always the sort of the uniqueness of Main Street businesses is that intersectionality of the business and the community. Nothing is transactional. Purely transactional.
Yeah. Everything has layers to it.
Exactly. We're seeing more and more the role of technology in Main Street retail. Certainly, technology has been around, but I think more and more the speed of technology, the need for adoption is really big. Whether that's on the e-commerce side to social media, or even now the big discussions around AI, for example. What's interesting is your store, sort of pays homage to the past, in which maybe technology as we think of it today wasn't present. And I wonder how you juggle the use of technology with still creating that experience here in the store.
Yeah, so I do like everything to feel authentic when you come in. So it's funny because even like we have a vintage pinball machine, like it's from the 50s. And I've had people try to get me to have claw games in here, and I don't want the new stuff. I want it to feel like you're stepping back in time into the 40s. But I do try to keep up with the modern technology. So, for example, you talked about AI. I've been using AI for probably 2 years now. Wow. And again, I was listening to another podcast, and they started talking about AI, and they were saying, you need to learn how to use this, and that people are going to try to fight it, and they're going to say, no, I need to be able to do this on my own, or I need to come up with my own ideas. But the way they explained it, it was you're going to either be left behind, or you're going to be able to do 10 times the amount of things as other people. And I thought, well, I'd like to get a lot done. So,
yeah.
And having a business is you're always trying to keep up with everybody else or be in front of everyone else. So I started utilizing AI. I started probably first with Grammarly, and that really helped me with, my press releases and social media. But then as soon as I found out about, I think I was using Google Bard first.
Okay.
And I started using that right away.
Now Gemini.
Yep. I started using that right away for marketing ideas. Or, for example, we have a sign we put out on the sidewalk. We like to change it every week. I use it all the time. I'll say, come up with a funny saying. Today I made one, it's so hot. So they come up with a funny saying about it being hot and, drinking a soda. So it came up, it said, and also I said, make it retro. And it said,
it says a tone that's retro.
Yeah. It came up for me. It said, it's hotter than a drive-through on date night, stopping for a soda today.
Oh,
so I would have had a hard time coming up with that myself. Yeah. So I use it all the time, like I said, for that, even for images. It's really helped me.
Yeah, that's really brilliant. And for those, obviously there's a lot of nervousness for many around AI, but I think you could see in that very example, it was still your thinking around what you wanted to put in there. It couldn't come up on that on its own. Yeah. But to your point, it may have taken you 30 minutes, an hour of time or something to come up with that. Brainstorming. Yeah. So just for things like that, it's a great time saver.
Yes.
Huge.
I think if you put it into perspective too, like nobody thinks twice about spell check on your computer. This is just like the next step from spell check.
Yeah. Any other ways that you see either currently or maybe in the future you might start using things like it?
Yeah, I also use it for if I want to do a marketing campaign, I'll say, like next month we're going to do something about baseball.
Okay.
If I put in there, come up with a marketing campaign for baseball, or what are some marketing ideas, and it'll give you a whole list of ideas.
It might be events that you do in the store or sales focus or product. Will it give you product features?
Or? Anything. It's just like having a friend. You just say to your friend, like, hey, I'm thinking of this idea. Tell me your idea of how I could do this. And it'll give you a whole list.
All right. Just promise me you didn't give it a name.
No. No.
Let's talk a little bit about e-commerce. I think I asked you this on the phone because the thing that caught me, and we'll put the business website, domain in the show notes, but I was fascinated when you go to your website, and I think this store, the concept that you've got here with like candy by the decade and that generational is something that's not only like important to the local and the region, but I think it's something people anywhere across the country would love to be able to find and do. And so I was really fascinated about how your e-commerce is working and any challenges you have or any thoughts about leveraging it more in the future to reach broader sort of consumers.
So my online sales are something I'd like to increase, which I actually have one of my employees right now. She just graduated and she's going to school for computer science. So we've been working together. I'm trying to, show her how my site works and let her kind of use it as a learning tool for herself and to help the business. So that is definitely something I want to increase the sales in. I've done a couple of seminars actually through Main Street America, the Google workshop. Yeah. So I did list a bunch of my items on Google, but I would say I'm personally still trying to figure out how do I get people to go to my site. Because I've tried different things. I was doing Amazon sales for a while, but I found for myself, the candy is not high dollar items. So it was a lot of work for not a lot of a return. Yeah. So, because people might order one of something. Yeah. They're not ordering like they would from my website, like 10 different things in one package.
The thing that occurred to me, and this isn't Matt's brainstorming session with Rachel, but I was struck and I thought, you know what? If Rachel had a subscription where I got like a package a month from these 3 decades, and then the next was from some other decades or whatever, I would be all over that.
That would be fun. Like every month you get a different decade.
Correct.
Because that would be 12. So that would be over 100 years.
The best of the 50s, the best of the 60s. Or
I like your idea. Maybe you'll see that on my website.
It's my one for the year.
I do have to say the other thing I do like about my website is I've looked at other people's websites that sell candy by the decade, and it's just like all over the place. Like I brought up the Mallow cups earlier. They were created in the 40s, but somebody might have Mallow cups in a 50s decade package. So it's like, yes, they were around in the 50s, but they're still around today. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't put them in a 2000. Yeah. So I always go by the year they were created.
The original.
Yes, what year they were created. And that's the other thing. If you go on my website, I also try to put like a little history blurb on there. So it's almost like you're learning as you're traveling.
Yeah. I think what people are interested in is the story itself and the experience. And then by knowing that, they're going to share that. Maybe they bought it for a friend, or whether they're going to share the story. This was made back in 1959.
Yeah. That's funny because people come in and they like to tell me the candy fact.
Like you don't know it.
Yeah, but I just, I'm like, yes. Because that's part of the fun.
It is people sharing their knowledge. Let's talk about maybe into the future. About some of your future goals for the stores themselves and maybe some of the biggest challenges you face.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I have been in business for 10 years now. So, I mean, I would just say always finances is what keeps you up because, I think having your own business, people don't understand, like, that's always that stress. Because if you make one wrong move, that could be it. So I think finances is what always keeps me up, but I kind of know the ups and downs. 10 years. Yeah. So I think it's funny too, when you first open a business, after you make it through a year, people say, after 2 years, you're good. And then they say 3 years, and then it's 5 years.
They
and
keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah. And then after 5 years, they just don't say it anymore. I think they just are used to seeing you. So they figure you're not going anywhere. But yeah, I would say that right now, one of the things that I'm learning to adjust is, like you said, I just expanded and opened the ice cream parlor. So I went from 2 employees to 9 employees.
Oh,
and
wow.
The ice cream parlor was all new. We had ice cream before, but it was just a small area. We didn't have a whole seating area. It was more like you might get a cone and walk out the door.
Yeah.
So I'm just managing all the employees. Everybody I have is wonderful and amazing, and they all really care about the business. And I think it's a fun place to work. So they just enjoy it. So it was just learning what needs to be done and coming up with those systems and the strategies to make sure everybody knows what to do. And I feel like that's finally getting, panned out and
You're
working. Yeah. So that's good. I think, and then in the future, I would like to eventually open another store, but I think maybe in like 5 years, because I still would like to maybe like get the online a little more, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think like the second time around, I know so much more now. I think I really could really rock it with a second location.
Yeah, exactly. So, you kind of know the kinks there.
Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm done with that. Now I know what to do right.
I'm sort of interested, when you are having maybe some of those headache moments, or like you said, where you're now going from 2 to 9 employees. You had said early on that, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but maybe I know this particular business. What is your sort of like learning style when you're trying to solve an issue? Or do you have go-tos? Do you have a network? Do you just watch YouTube videos? Like, what's
I would say, like, I do like to go online and like search things out, but I like to figure things out on my own. So one scenario I always think to myself is, I don't remember how many years ago this was, but I had an older lady that was working for me, and it just seemed like things really slowed down and we just weren't making a lot of money. And I started to struggle a little bit financially. And she was like, "Do you want me to loan you some money?" And I was like, "No." I'm like, I appreciate that. But I almost felt like if you bail me out, I'm not going to figure this out. Like, I need to struggle to get through this, to figure out what the problem is so I can fix it. I think that's another thing too, is I really am a problem solver. So like, not that I never want things to go bad, but if there is a problem going on, I'm able to like really look at the problem and think like, all right, what is not working here and what can we adjust?
Yeah.
So, and I think sometimes that's hard for people too, because it's like they get stuck in, this is how I do things, this is how I want to do them, and you just keep doing the same thing, where it gives you the opportunity to change and maybe make things new and fresh.
Yeah. Sort of talk a little bit about sort of current events in the more macro environments. There's been a lot of discussion around like tariffs to interest rates. Any of that impact your business, or how do you look at the more macro environment and how it impacts?
Well, the one thing is, of course, everything has gone up in price, everything. So I'm really doing my best to keep my prices as low as possible. Like, I laugh at this because when I opened the ice cream parlor, I actually went around to like every ice cream place in the area and I wrote all their prices down and I put them in a spreadsheet.
That's smart research right there.
Yes, I put them in a spreadsheet and then I made sure our prices were right in the middle, because my goal was to make sure we have the best price, the best environment, the best product. But I mean, sometimes it's getting hard. Like, I keep thinking, do I need to raise the prices? Because like our ice cream just went up, and it's like, I want to make this affordable for my customers, but also, are we making enough to cover all of our expenses?
Yeah, you have certain margins you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So, and I want to make sure I pay my staff good, and it's just, there's a lot of elements to it. So that no, I do watch the news, so I know a lot of things are going on, and I know a lot of people get stressed out about that. But a long time ago, I read an article and it said candy stores are always okay because everyone can afford candy, and I'd say this is the same with ice cream. And then when things get bad, people might not go on a big vacation, or but they still can afford a little bit of ice cream or a little bit of candy. So, when things really started going up in the beginning, I actually was doing these ice cream specials, like Family Fridays, or it was something like that, where I was doing like little mini ice cream cones and little mini sundaes for a lower price, like $3 or $2. So I thought, well, people are not wanting to spend the money. How can I do that? Is there a way for me to utilize that negative thing?
Gotcha. Okay.
So I always try to look at it in that way.
Yeah, and in fact, I noticed where you pointed it out. You even sell pixie sticks for 5 cents.
Yeah.
So we've got a wide range of products.
Yes, here. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about, you're a small business owner in a very historic town. You're in Eastern PA, and what lessons have you learned about sort of small town resiliency and making sure that you stay connected with your consumers and the community itself?
Oh, a couple of things I can say is, one, I appreciate every single customer that walks through my door. I mean, I look at it this way, like you could have just bought your candy at Walmart, or you could have gone to Dairy Queen, or, like one of the big chain places, but you decided to come here. So to me, I almost look at like I have a loyalty to my customer. So that would be one thing. And the other thing is, there was actually another business, they told me this trick. So we have a lot of people that ask for donations. And I wanted, and I thought in the beginning, like, I can't afford to give a gift basket to every, like, I might, sometimes in a month, I might have 20 requests, so it's like, I can't, that would put me out of business, but how do I pick and choose who I can support and who I can't? So what I do is anybody who comes in, as long as it's a nonprofit, I donate a gift card to them. So it's a way for me to be able to support everyone. I don't have to turn anyone away. And then, every once in a while, if there's something, like I'm part of the Historical Society, I would do a basket. I have a personal relationship with them, but, I do my best to support, the organizations in town. I think that keeps me connected with the community as well. And also I try to give a lot back to my customers. So we do a lot where we give, you might come in, you get a free pin, or like we'll be doing this again in August, but 2 years ago we worked with the Animal Rescue League at like an animal shelter, and we made little adoptable animal playing cards. And then we had like all kinds of candies like that were animal themed. And so I try to do things like that to support the nonprofits in the area.
Awesome. I always like to close out the show with a little bit of advice.
Sure.
And especially, a lot of the folks I end up interviewing, maybe have been in business. We have so many small businesses that launched right after the pandemic. And you've been around for 10 years. You've seen a lot of change. You've been through a pandemic. You've seen the ebbs and flows. I'd love for you to share some things that you've learned over the years that you think might be advantageous for other small business owners.
I would say just know what your business is, know who you are and what your vibe is, and stick with it. And make sure you know what you're selling. Because I've seen a lot of businesses come and go in Boyertown too after 10 years. And I think that's it, is like, you have to go all in and really be passionate about what you're doing. And I think the other part of it is make sure you have a plan. Like, you don't have to know everything. I didn't own an ice cream or store or candy store. Like, I didn't even work at an ice cream store or candy store, but I really took the time to research what my products were and make sure I knew what I was doing. And I had a plan. I did work with SCORE my first year when I opened, and that really helped me. They taught me how to make spreadsheets and do projections, and that's helped me a lot too.
Yeah.
So
awesome. And I did give Rachel a little heads up that our Small Business Hub would be coming out.
Yes.
And hopefully that will be another great resource for small business owners. We'll share more of that in a few more shows. But Rachel, so grateful for your message to me, a couple months ago, and saying, hey, what about, could I be a guest? And I'm so glad you did that. And for others out there that are maybe interested in being the show and certainly have a wonderful inspirational story like Rachel's, feel free to reach out. And thank you so much. And thanks for having me here. And now can we go shop for candy?
Yeah, of course. And taste test.
And taste test. There we go. Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode with my guest, Rachael Kehler, founder of the Peppermint Candy Shop and Ice Cream Parlor in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. I had a blast and frankly consumed a lot of candy and my first ever classic soda fountain drink called the Utah. Now, if you're not familiar with the Utah, I certainly wasn't, but it features Dr. Pepper, coconut, vanilla, and cream. Absolutely delish, total yum. I can vouch for it. And besides all the things that I consumed while at the candy shop, I learned a great deal. I did some in-episode ideation with Rachael. That was super cool. It was also invigorated by the creativity, innovative thinking, and pure fortitude of our Main Street small business community. I just want to thank Rachael so much for inviting me, being a fan of the show. Please keep listening and sharing out the show. We really, really appreciate it. So that's going to do it for this episode. As always, if you're a business owner, and likewise to my place professional colleagues out there, I hope this episode has provided plenty of new insights, solutions, and inspiration. And as consumers, please continue to support your local small businesses and, of course, tell their stories. They're so important to our local and national economies. And most importantly, they promote and provide quality of living to the places we all call home. And don't forget to show your Main Street pride. I've got some on right now, as I do in most episodes, by checking out our Main Street swag at shopmainstreet.org. Remember to check out our growing library of podcast recordings. They grow and grow and grow, and other related films of the podcast or training videos on our Main Street America YouTube channel. Thanks, of course, for listening. Please rate and review us. And as always, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends, family, neighbors, and colleagues. Until next time, thanks for all the support.